Hi everyone. We're the Backtrackers. We are a what I used to call a video game book club, but I guess we're just a video game club. We play games, we pick them together, we play them together. We get together about once a month or so, and we talk about them in depth. And it's just a really cool thing that we do. Hang out. We look for hidden gems. We look for things that people haven't really played, just to highlight and give love to something that is underappreciated. That is kind of the passion here. So this is our second game of the year that we're doing, but it is the third year that we're celebrating Backtrackers. This year we played 15 different games. So we met up 15 separate times, and that's, we averaged more than once a month. I'm pretty proud of that. That was my goal. And so we hit it, and this has been a really awesome year. We've played a lot of great games. So I guess that's enough said on that. John, I'm going to go to you, and you can tell us the 15 games that we played in order.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to do the honors. So first up, we had Backpack Hero, and that was selected by Kyle. After that, we completed Lost Words Beyond the Page, selected by myself. We then played Superliminal. That was a Brent selection. Then we did Wizard with a Gun by Bowza. Thirsty Suitors was up next, selected by Matt. The Veil, Shadow the Crown, selected by yourself, Josh.
Thank you.
Strayed Lights, selected by Bowza. Little Goody Two Shoes, selected by Michael. Strayed Gods by Josh. Up next was Little Nightmares by Cade. Ida was up next, selected by Bowza. Crow Country was Matt's pick. Then I selected Beyond Good and Evil, the Anniversary Edition. Cade then selected Rain World, and we ended the year with 1000 Times Resist, which was a me pick, selected by myself.
Yeah, so to kind of explain, we have a group of core people, and with one, I guess, returning son and Seth. But we're kind of like the core group that shows up almost every time, right? And so we have other people that will come and drop in when they can, schedules permitting. So when you hear the different names, it's all based on a random wheel that picks, and it's all based on the number of times you come, etc. So it's, we're not. I guess the same people aren't picking the games. It's pretty random. So anyhow, all right. So we're gonna go through this thing, and we're gonna do 3, I guess, topics each. The first one's going to be a game and a runner-up. The second's going to be, what is your favorite moment in this past year of Backtrackers 2024? And then finally, what are your thoughts, or what are your feelings, what are your goals for the group moving forward? So I'm going to start with Bowza, and then she's going to kick it off to the next person. So Bowza, the floor is yours.
All right. I'm going to start off with my runner-up game from 2024. And there's a particular reason it wasn't my top game for the year. We'll get into that in a moment. The runner-up is Wizard with a Gun. That's one of the games that I picked. It's kind of like a survival base building, but I guess twin stick shooter, you would call it. You're running around collecting items, you build up your base, and then you get the ability to upgrade your guns, upgrade your ammo, then you go back out and adventure. There's like a time limit for how long you can be out in the world before things really go to crap and you either die or run home crying. Really just a fun game to play. The reason it didn't make my number one is the time we played it was before a big update. And it was harder. They've since made an update, and I think they made the progression easier to do. And that's when I went back and actually finished the game. So this is my runner-up because I think at this point, as of our recording right now, the game would have probably been my top pick for the year. But at the time we played it and had our session, it still needed a little bit of work. So that's my runner-up. Did anyone else have any thoughts on Wizard with a Gun?
Wait, so the patch, it made the game easier or just like run better?
No, it made the progression easier, I think. Like I
Oh,
found
More
that I was
man.
smooth.
able,
Of
yeah, to
course.
get. I think there were some new weapons added,
Okay.
and it felt like it was easier to level up my ammo and stuff afterwards. So
So, so I really like
That
this
really
pick
is a shame.
from yeah.
yeah,
I like the pick from Bowser because it is a I would call this a Bowser ass game. It is gameplay. It is a gameplay game, and that's what you seem to be into. And I think that it's a neat game from a number of perspectives, the gameplay and like the actual like core and flow of it. But I don't the one area, and I maybe they improved this when you're talking about the update. Like I had a hard time like the progression cycle of like trying to figure out what I needed to do and when. It felt
Mhm.
like if I wasn't min-maxing it, I wasn't doing the right thing. So like that's why it wouldn't be in my top couple games this year. But I did enjoy playing it. Yeah.
yeah. I would advise everyone go back and just take a peek now in the updated version and see how you feel about it.
Mm.
Yeah,
I'm very
that's
curious to
helpful
hop back
advice.
because, yeah, because I know I enjoyed what I experienced, but I couldn't finish it. I found it hard. But what you're describing does make me really tempted to go back. I can't remember. Did everybody finish the game? Was it just me who quit, or
No,
everybody?
I remember
Okay,
having the same exact issue. It was like fun when you're playing it, but the progression super like it just kicked my butt. So it was one of
Mhm.
those games that
yeah,
of the year I didn't finish this one. So good to know. Good advice.
yeah. I'm gonna hop back into that one. That's really good to know. Um, I guess I'll go up next. So my runner-up, it was quite a surprise. It would be Little Goody Two Shoes. Not my pick. It was Michael, aka Drellish, and I again we'll talk about it later. But one of my favorite things about the Backtrackers, besides the sweet hangs with good friends, is just playing games that I really normally wouldn't. Not only are they not on my radar, there's usually genres that I don't really gravitate towards, but I like it because it expands you know, my palette and I get to try new stuff. And like I said, if it wasn't for the backtrackers, there's so many games I would have experienced, including Little Goody Two Shoes. And yeah, on the surface level, I remember when Michael picked it. I didn't watch a trailer. I think I just looked at some artwork and I was like, okay, I'm assuming it's just like a. I think I just assumed it was like a visual novel that's just like anime style. And I was like, whatever. And then I started playing it and I was like, number one, this game's really dark. Number two, this game's really hard. And number three, like the story just goes in really wild places. And yeah, I'm always up for an experience that is unique. And I can say that You Little Goody Two Shoes definitely is that one. And if I recall correctly, there's multiple endings. I'm pretty sure I got one of the bad ones, which is fine. But I again, I like it when a game presents itself as choose your own adventure in the sense like you get to have a different ending and your choices actually do matter, as opposed to games that advertise that your choices matter, but they actually don't. In this case, for Little Goody Two Shoes, your choices definitely matter. But like I said, my favorite thing about it was just the fact that on the surface level, it just looks like a cute visual novel anime style game, especially with the music score as well. And it's not like it's reminiscent of old school games in the sense of like how punishing it can be, which is fine, but I think it's unexpected. I wasn't expecting of it, so I enjoyed it once I raged a few times and just kind of pushed through. But I'm really glad Michael picked it because again, I never would have gone for a game like this, and again, it's just nice going into games and not having expectations. It's just like, okay, let's just see what it is. And it's like, holy moly, this is like a 180 of what I thought the game would be. And so, I loved it when Yon32 read the whole list. And I was like, there's some obvious games that I feel like should have been my runner up or even like top three or maybe number one. But just going with my heart, like, yeah, like if it wasn't for my number one game, it would have been Little Goody Two Shoes just because it was such a unique and refreshing experience. I truly enjoyed it quite a bit.
Very good.
I don't know if
Anyone have
anybody
any thoughts
else
on that?
felt
Yeah.
that way. Yeah, did everybody like it? Or am I on a spaceship? Everyone else like it, or
No,
nobody liked it?
I had the same impression as you, Matt. Like I was surprised at how much I loved it, given like, had zero knowledge about it going in. Um, it was a surprising, and it actually I realized afterwards. Apparently, it had the third largest amount of hours in that game on my Switch. When I did the Switch wrap up,
Oh,
it was one
Mm.
of the top games played of last year. So, I think I dived into that a lot more than I thought I would when it was first picked. So, absolutely with you on that.
It has a really great cozy um, has a cozy flow to the game, but it is like the meanest cozy game I've ever played in my life. And that's not, I mean, that's from the story, to the mechanics. Like it can be really, really punishing, like Matt was saying, and that thing goes places. It is not what you expect. So yeah,
It's
very
like
good.
Square Enix also, isn't it? Like a Square Enix published game. Isn't that
Oh
crazy?
It
yeah,
is.
I
It is.
forgot. That is wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did a few weird
But
ones,
no,
I think, in the past couple of years, right? That and Paranormal
Yeah.
Sight. Mm-hmm.
Everybody should play Paranormasight. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
oh, no, but
very.
I really enjoyed it. But Josh, why don't you tell everybody what your runner-up is for 2024?
It's funny. I was telling my wife before I came in here, I was like, I don't really know what I'm picking for either of these things. I didn't really give it that much thought, but I think when I look back at the year, I'm gonna be like Bowser and pick one of my own games. I really liked The Veil, Shadow of the Crown, and I don't know that. So it's hard to describe it as a game. It is an experience, or I guess a game that is designed for people who have vision impairment or blind people. I guess is yeah, it's purely reliant on sound. There is a graphic on the screen, but it'll be like just a bunch of dots like this, like this. I mean, this is what it looks like. It looks like your
I was
Windows
going to say, this is going to
screensaver.
be a funny one to pull up the trailer for.
Yeah, hot trailer here. So, but it's a really cool experience, and it's not because like I particularly enjoyed the story or the actual playing of the game, but I think to me, it's this kind of thing that I love about gaming is that there can be experiences for someone who like cannot see the screen well enough to to interact in that way. And I love to see creativity like this shine through. And I mean, they for what it was like maybe 2 or 3 hours long, and it actually works fairly well. I can't imagine how they designed this to work like this. My brain would never go there, so I can super appreciate it. So I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on it, but that was kind of where I sit on it.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. I guess spoilers. This was my number one pick for the year.
Oh,
To me,
Oh,
this
Nice.
game embodies what the Backtrackers is for me, and that
Mm.
is playing something completely out of your wheelhouse and having friends to talk about the game with and, see everyone's perspectives on it. But this is absolutely a game I would not have played if it weren't for the Backtrackers. 100%. And it was a phenomenal game. And it makes me think back to like playing Animal Crossing New Horizons, and when you're like really, really trying to catch the fish, like you're trying to get that
Oh,
100
yeah.
streak, and you just gotta not look at the screen and listen to
Close
the
your
sound
eyes.
cues. You got to close your eyes so that you can reel in that fish just the right time. Yeah, this was great. Like there was combat. Like we were doing
Yes.
combat. You're dodging
there
and
was.
striking, and
Yep.
everything is sound based. And like I said, I got my nice, pretty 4K TV out there. Usually, I like to see what I'm doing, but I love this game. I'm so
It's a
glad
head
that you picked it.
it's a headphones game for sure.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
and the thing
definitely.
I think I forgot to add this. The one I was thinking about this. The one thing I really like about this game is like a lot of times I find myself like multitasking like with everything in my
Yeah.
life,
mhm.
and I do it with gaming too. I'll be playing something and I'm listening to a podcast, something from Carpool Gaming perhaps. Like there's my plug.
Little plug. Yeah,
But
I like that.
yeah, but no, I just it's really cool because it makes you just put that stuff aside, and you
Mm-hmm.
actually have to really engage with what you're doing and appreciate what you're doing, and slow down. And it was like almost like calming in a lot of ways, just sitting in like the living room in the chair with headphones on and not being able to do anything else, or I would be able to like play the game. So anyway, that was really cool. Yep.
This is one
So
where it felt immersive, um,
Yeah.
because the way I played it, or at least for sections of it, is like it actually encourages you to close your eyes to
Yeah.
kind of try and recreate it because there's nothing really to stare at on the screen as Seth showed, like, and so you're just purely listening for directional cues and other things, and you're even doing combat. I don't know if that like combat without like it's amazing what they actually pull off, and it was almost meditative in a way because you're just like you said, Josh, you have nothing else you can do. You're just playing the game. I found myself like finding corners of a couch or just closing my eyes and actually just immersing yourself in that with headphones on. It was it was wild. So yeah, very good pick.
Yeah. It was
Thanks.
even interesting, like trying to navigate around the little villages you would come across.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to
Oh
listen
yeah.
out. Like you can
Yeah, right.
hear the blacksmith banging on the anvil and stuff. Okay, I don't want to talk to them, so I'll go the other side. Yeah. Very
That's right.
interesting.
And then like you had to go to a certain person for side quests too, right? And you had to kind of
Yep.
like listen to which direction. Yeah, this it was quite a trip. I sadly I didn't roll credits, but I remember like this truly is like an accomplishment in game development. Like just it's all there. Like it's like Bowser said, like you have to parry, you have to do heavy strikes. Like it's a I know Josh, you said is it a game? It is in fact a game. It is. It's an excellent game.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. It's an amazing game. I'm glad that this one has come up. This game I think flew under the radar for a lot of people, and it is there is truly nothing else out there like this game. I mean, really, the closest you get, like there'll be. I remember there are games on the DS where you like close the screen and have to like listen to it while playing with the shoulder buttons, and so I think Mario and Luigi does that a couple times, but it's very rare. And the sound design of it is phenomenal. Like all the performances, all of the just the way they designed everything in this game is a special experience. You will never play anything like it.
Very good. Okay, John, you want to go now?
Sure. I'm going to continue the trend of honorably mentioning one game that I selected, and that's Lost Words Beyond the Page. So this is one where I think it was a bit divisive in terms of our conversation of the game. And I think that's what I really liked about it is that people were bringing their own experiences and kind of their own um, perspectives into the conversation. It wasn't kind of roundly loved, but the people that loved it really loved it, and the people that didn't click with it, it really kind of like was divisive in that way. Like they describe it as a atmospheric narrative adventure, and I think that's probably the best way you can talk about this game. It has some interesting things that it does, specifically probably the art style. It uses words and kind of the main character Izzy is she's a little girl that wants to be a writer, and so there's a lot of puzzles that use essentially words to complete puzzles or to traverse the platforming that's embedded in the game. But I think what I loved about this game was really kind of the theme of grief and loss that the main character was basically um, working to overcome. And I think that's what clicked with me the most. Um, I think it was, and that might have been why it was so divisive. I think people were seeing themselves in the character, and so people were bringing their own experiences to how they interacted with this game. I loved it. It sticks with me today. Specifically, we just had a recent backtracker session where we were talking about Farewell North, and this game came to mind a couple times just because big themes, big emotions, something different that I would never probably would have played, but a game that I wanted to kind of exchange ideas with and share with friends. And essentially, to me, that's the Backtrackers gave us a chance to do that. So, yeah, I loved it. I don't know, it was divisive when we talked about it. So I'd love to get others' thoughts on how they kind of look back on Lost Words.
I really
Yeah,
liked it. I trying to think about the conversation. I think I could be wrong. I think some people. I don't think anybody thought that was trash, but I think some people
No,
thought it was like
no.
mid, right? I think yeah, Beyond 32. I know you were high on it. I was high on it very well, and yeah, I mean, like that's like any type of art form, right? Like obviously your own experiences will kind of shape the experience, but at the same time, in my opinion, it's still up to the creator to, you know, find a way to have different entry points and to make all audiences have some sort of way to connect with it. So in my opinion, in my opinion, like Lost Words Beyond the Page, like I feel like it did. Like you said, like I remember I don't want to spoil the story, but obviously it does talk about grief and like losing a family member. But while I might not have that exact specific experience, but I've lost people. I'm sure many people have, and you can kind of catch little pieces and moments of when you're watching the protagonists go through their grieving process. So for me, it resonated with me in terms of the story, and I thought it was a unique way to tell the story with the words. Like I don't know, a South Pull of the Trail, like you kind of have to like move some of the words because as like John said, like she's a writer, so she's constantly writing in her diary, and you have to move certain words. Some people might say it's a gimmick. I personally liked it. Like I'm a big person that always watches TV, movie shows, plays video games. Everything has subtitles, so I'm very used to I'm very accustomed to having words on the screen. So the fact that this video game was like, well, let's just turn it into a gameplay mechanic. I enjoyed it, and I thought some of the words that they used were beautiful. And like Jan said, like it's visually very pretty. So no, it was very high on my list for sure. I liked it, but I know some people did say it was mid for some of them.
I think part of that
Mm.
was just it probably wasn't as challenging, right? Like we talked about, like the last question Josh was
Oh,
like, is this a video game, right? It was very much narrative based. It was very much about the story that you were kind of interacting with. But to me, like you said, Matt, it's something that I never experienced a game like that before. So for me, it was all new and it kind of stuck with me. I thought about it a lot also playing Plucky Squire last year, where the words
Yep.
were used to kind of solve problems.
oh,
It kind
cool.
of brought harken back to that for me. So yeah,
I think the reason that I would, I like me personally, it was the second time I played it. So I think the one thing that didn't change between the first time I played it and this time was that I think it's pretty mechanically clunky. And I think that's why it's a hard kind of game for me. Uh, if it was more smooth feeling to play, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But I do like the things around it. I like the Mad Libs kind of gameplay. I like the idea of the being inside of a book. I, I like the story that they're telling. I think it's interesting that they use a young girl to tell this like pretty dark tale. It's kind of I can't remember what was the game we played a few years back, Bowser, that you picked. It was a scary game with a little girl.
Guilt.
Guilt, yeah. So I mean, it's a kind of
Oh
similar concept where
yeah,
they use
that was a good one.
where they use a younger person to tell this kind of adult story and deal with some pretty heavy themes. And I liked all those things. But yeah, just like in terms of like the moment to moment, it's not. You have to get out of the mindset that it's going to be a fun platformer, because it's not. I mean, that's just not what it
Yeah.
is. But I'd really be curious to see what this developer does. And I say it's probably about every single game that we play. I'd love to see what this developer does with their next game. If they can clean that piece up while still maintaining some of these core components of what makes this game great, I mean, I think they have a hit.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you. This was the second time I had played it, and some of the moving around felt a little clunky. Like the actual platforming parts when you were like jumping on the words in the book pages
Mhm.
felt harder than it needed to be. Like, I don't know, my jumps didn't feel good there, so that took it down a little bit. But overall, I think it was a good game.
Mm-hmm.
it's giving a little taste of what a backtracker session can be like.
Yeah.
That's why I love
Yeah, a
it.
little bit, a little micro.
Just a little taste
Yeah.
of the
That's what it's
conversation
like.
that can come up. Yeah. So maybe I'll turn it to Seth now. I don't know, Seth, if you want to jump in with your game.
Sure. Well, it's interesting. So due to things in my personal life, I had to take last year essentially off Backtrackers, regrettably, and I didn't get to play the vast majority, or I have played, but I didn't get to chat with y'all about the vast majority of the games from last year, and I ended up getting to make my triumphant return with the final session of the year, which I was thrilled about, and we'll talk about that, I guess, a little bit later. But I thought maybe just to even showcase some more variety here, I thought, what's the game on this list that like I most regret not being able to chat with y'all about? Like, what's the one that gave me the most FOMO here? And so I think what I'm actually going to go with for my like runner up, such as it is, I think I'm going to go with Crow Country.
Let's go. Nice pick.
Which like yeah, which like I really love this game, and I think that it does a lot of like interesting things in the space, and I think that it has like a like an interesting kind of like design sensibility of like it's borderline antagonistic to the player, and it kind of like
Yep.
doesn't like it almost doesn't care, and like it kind of is like a rolling challenge of like the way that you engage with it. It's got more story than you think it does. It's got a really interesting visual style, a cool little like world, a lot of like the games that inspire it, things like Resident Evil or whatever, a lot of like incentive for replayability. But it's also just I love that it's this little like bite-sized condensed version and kind of gets to the heart. It's almost like a deconstruction of what makes that kind of genre special. And I don't know, I really liked this one, and when I saw that y'all did this, like this is the one I was like, man, like I wish I could have chatted with this group about it because I love this game. It didn't quite make my overall top 10 of the year last year, but it was like in my top 15 for sure. Like I really, really enjoyed it. So
That was a really good conversation that we had, Seth. Not to rub salt into the wound,
great.
but I'm sorry.
I'm sure it
Well,
was. Yeah.
it really was just because I think we had very diverse experiences from it. Like I know
Mm.
for me, because I did the platinum, I was following a guide. Every puzzle was just handed to me because I had the solutions in front of me. Like I knew exactly where to go, like zero backtracking because again I followed a guide. So because all of those challenges were removed from my experience, I just got to enjoy a nice like nostalgia trip back to 1996 Resident Evil games. Um, and like you said, Seth, there's quite a very deep story in here, surprisingly, but it was very fascinating because in the sense that I almost regret not doing a blind run beforehand because I know and from the backtrackers, a lot of people found the backtracking frustrating. A lot of people found the puzzles very obtuse, and I was like, man, now I'll never get to experience that. Like it's too late now because I've already done it this way. So it's kind of unfortunate that and that's what happens when you chase trophies in an efficient way. Like you kind of spoil the fun for yourself. So it was a very good conversation in that sense. But yeah, like regardless of even having a guide or not, like Seth is right. Like the level design, the game design itself, it punishes you like just for the sake of it. Like there's just so many traps that just blend in with the background. Like it's unforgiving. And like sometimes it's like almost like one hit kill depending on your
Oh
situation
yeah.
you're in. And it's an old school game, so it's manual save. So if you didn't save, recently and something just fell on your head and you're dead, it's gonna suck. But correct me if I'm wrong. Like some people found it frustrating. No, is that's
Yeah, I would
I
say
think
the
people found it
stuff
frustrating.
the stuff falling on your head was pretty frustrating. I won't. I don't have much to add to this one other than this reminds me very much of I think another game you picked, Matt, Signalis. It is, as Seth said,
Sure.
incredibly
Mhm.
antagonistic to the player, and does not hold your hand, and it can be annoying in some ways. But I super appreciate what both of them are doing. I mean, they're both doing the Resident Evil Silent Hill thing, right? I mean, that's kind of what they're doing. So I can appreciate it, but yeah, god damn it, I hate it when those things are falling on my head constantly. Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
I
I pull a book and then like I'm dead now, and I'm like there. I
Poison
remember when
gas or
that
something.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when that moment happened, I was like, I don't know if I should like scream or like squeal in like elation.
Laugh.
Like it does remind me of being a kid and playing these games on PS1 and how trolly they can be sometimes. So
There's that part when you're eating those mushrooms or whatever around the table, like you literally,
yeah.
Oh, that was
if you don't feel like,
brutal.
God, man, that's frustrating. Anyway, no, I won't spoil any more. But
on my end of things, I don't have that nostalgia for those types of games, so I was kind of going in this blind. But what's interesting is I actually liked Signalis. I rolled credits on Signalis. I
Yeah,
didn't
you
find
enjoyed
it
it.
too
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
difficult, and I actually like rolled through that without using a guide. I got stuck in Crow Country in the first like must have put 5 hours in that game, didn't get out of the first section of the game. So I actually gave up on it.
Wow.
I did not enjoy it as much as you guys did. And I will say though that like I think maybe that was a little bit of resistance to using a guide, at least to kind of progress and understand the core mechanics of the game, the core like what they're looking for you to do. Maybe if I had done that, I would have gone further. So how high you guys all are on this game, it does encourage me to kind of give it a second shot. That might happen.
I don't know. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Like you, in my opinion, games you should not require a guide just to roll credits on a game.
Mhm.
Platinum, 1,000 gamer score. That's a little different. Like I need the guides, but to roll credits, like I feel like the developers should have in mind of like if you don't know what you're doing, is the game giving you enough hints? A risk reward system that is encouraging and engaging. Because if it's not, you're not rolling credits. Well, I'm not gonna buy a game from you ever again. And that's just my opinion of it. Like I don't think, I think good game design is like you can do this without the guide. you want a platinum, you want to get 1,000 gamer score. Hey, you can do it on your own, but you might need a guide for it. That's so. And when I hear people like Yon32 and other people say like it was frustrating, like that to me, that's a valid critique of the game. Like that means there was something in it that
I get it.
perhaps should be revisited. Yeah, I get it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. Well, I also kind of like, I mean, and this is just like a me thing. I mean, leave it to the guy, leave it to the Hypnospace Outlaw guy to pick like the most divisive one here today. I think that I really vibe with a game that kind of just is what it is and like is kind of operating independently on like however they feel like the general public is going to like it or not. Like the just this is I am what I am. I am Crow Country. Like take it or leave it. You know what I mean? And I kind of like that about it. I don't know. Like there's like I completely get anybody who like found it frustrating, didn't like it, whatever. But I don't know. I kind of respect a game that has like the brass to just kind of like be what it is. You know? So.
It's the souls of something. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah, the Dark Souls of Resident Evil setups.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I like that. Okay.
All right.
Well, so we know. I guess we would be circling back around to Bowser, but now we know what Bowser's number one is.
Mm-hmm.
So
I spoiled it.
So how do we want to? Okay.
I guess I'll just shout out that The Veil: Shadow of the Crown. It was nominated for Innovation in Accessibility at the 2021
let's
Game
go.
Awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it should have won. I don't know who won that year, but I don't know. This is pretty
It didn't
good.
win for that category.
Yeah, it
who
seems
won
like
for that over the
Yeah.
Veil?
Yeah, who
I have to look
possibly
that
could
up.
have done more than that?
You can come back to it.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
Spider-Man.
Oh my!
2.
Can
Yeah.
you imagine?
Please.
Jeez, man.
But yeah, so I think we went into The Veil quite a bit. So Matt, what was your favorite Backtracker game of 2024?
I'm gonna sound like a broken record just because you've heard me talk about this game on the GUIs. You're gonna hear about it today. You're gonna hear more from me later on. But my favorite game from the Backtrackers from 2024 also is my favorite game entirely from 2024 is 1000 Times Resist. And I remember this game. I think it came out like in May or June, and I was I'm on Twitter. I'm in and Blue Sky, everyone's just talking about like, yo, this is like an indie game of Nier Automata, and I was like, oh, I really gotta check this game out. And 2024, it wasn't that far long ago, but I couldn't buy new games. I wasn't allowed to. I did have a loophole where I can still buy games for the Backtrackers, but as Josh explained, I have to wait for the for the wheel to actually pick me, so that I can actually pick the game. So I was waiting patiently, but thank goodness, Yon32 picked it because yeah, I love this game. I thought it was phenomenal. I think its storytelling format is completely innovative, and I love it when games just kind of like what Seth says, like when they're just like, we're just gonna go for it, and hopefully people enjoy it. If people don't, it's too bad. But if game developers, if artists aren't, taking risks, then we're just going to get the same rinse and repeat stuff, and innovation doesn't happen. And in my opinion, in terms of storytelling, 1000 Times Resist is an innovator in that sense, just because it's very unique in the sense that it's I don't want to spoil too much because it's better that you just experience the game for yourself, but it does hop back and forth between timelines, and it's a very good use of that storytelling structure because you you don't know for sure, but you think you have an idea of how things are happening in the present. So every time you go into the past in 1000 Times Resist, you kind of have an idea of where things are going. So even if things are going poorly or things are going well, you already know exactly what's going to happen. It's kind of this inner struggle of experiencing that the past, because you can't do anything to change it because you already know what the future events are going to be coming about. And inside this beautiful sci-fi narrative, there's this other aspect about the meaning of life, nihilism. It does a fantastic job, in my opinion, of uh, showcasing and demonstrating like the Chinese Canadian culture, and what people had to go through in Hong Kong. Just beautifully woven into this story. And again, to me, at the time when I was playing, I remember I was like, oh, these are just really cool references. But as I continued and progressed, I realized like these were integral parts of the story, and I thought it was phenomenal. It was quite the ride. The only thing I can say about 1000 Times Resist is that you really have to be all in like because the story goes, in my opinion, it goes very quickly. So, quite frankly, like, I was all in, and even I know I missed several references because I've been obsessed with this game. If people haven't noticed, but I've watched so many videos, so many reviews. I know Seth did a fantastic interview with one of the directors, and there's all these hints and references, Easter eggs. I was like, I didn't catch this. I did not catch these references, and I was like laser focused on this game. So you really have to be all in. Like, Josh talked about how sometimes, including myself, we multitask when we're playing video games. This is not the game to do that. You will be missing out on not just key elements of the story, but you'll be missing out on really cool references that kind of, reward you later on. But I know it's not for everyone because it's a visual novel, and there's not much gameplay in that sense. Because but I think it's a beautiful story, and I think it's definitely worth trying. And again, I'm just happy to see that these developers, and from my understanding, it's their first video game. Like, good for them for just going for it, like not playing it safe. Like, it's just let's just see what happens, and it really resonated with me. So I loved it, and I think most people on the panel enjoyed it quite a bit, from what I recall.
Needs a better map.
It does need a better map.
Look, I'm team no map for 1,000 times resist,
Oh,
man.
no.
I played that organic free range 1,000 times resist with no map. I love this game too. This is where I get to spoil things. This is my number one also. I mean, no, duh. This game is it was my game of the year last year as well. I absolutely loved it. My favorite thing, and I think Matt did a good job of like summing up a lot of what the game does well, but my favorite thing about it is just how for as many, this is such a dense game thematically. It has so many different themes. There's so much to dig into and chew for this little 10 to 12 hour experience that was made by like 4 people. There's so much here, and all of it is equally loudly important. All of it, like, nothing feels like the B plot. Nothing feels like this thing off to the side. Everything is it is all about everything it is. And I just think that is phenomenal. I think it's the kind of, in terms of like telling a story with the medium of video games, like I can't point to anything better than this. I like this to me is a new standard. This is the sort of thing that like, and I've said it before, but like it should be studied, like people who are looking to get into like telling stories with video games. Like this is the first thing I would point them at. It's just so the theater background from Sunset Visitor, I think, comes through, and the way things are staged and framed, and the working within limitations. It's like everything I love about video games is present in this game. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, for me, I remember playing it, and early on, like I was excited to play it. I heard a lot of buzz. Um, you know, who said that I picked this game, but I think this is one where we really knew that like lots of us wanted to engage with it and have that conversation. And I remember starting the game and being like, okay, it's about the pandemic. We're going deep on pandemic, and then I'm like, no, it's actually about immigration, and it's about the discrimination that new immigrants can face in a community. And I kept trying to figure out what the theme was that they were engaging with. Only to your point, Seth, to later discover that it's all of those themes. And I didn't think it was possible to address so many different layers of complexity in a single story, and yet somehow they did it with a sci-fi overlay. I don't know. I really don't know how they did it, but maybe one thing I'll say is like you talked about the visual novel aspect of it, Matt. Um, there's a lot of games that I would say, play like The Veil or even Thousand Times Resist and others, where the one beautiful thing about the Backtrackers is like there's this like underlying incentive to still engage with games that are not your genre, like your type of game, or something that you may not click with right off the bat in the first hour or two. Because even if it's not your favorite game, even if it's not a type of game that you like, you still want to engage in the conversation. And so you kind of like naturally push yourself to continue to engage with this game. Because even though I selected it, I remember the first hour being like, "Is this all we're running around talking to people? Like, is this what we're doing?" And as it unfolds, it's just like, oh no, there's so much more here. And I can't tell you the number of times that's happened with the Backtrackers, and 1,000 times this is a perfect example of that, where it's like keep seeing it through because the ending and like what you're getting through that whole experience is going to be way more rewarding. So, yeah, I loved it. This could have easily, let's say this could have easily been also my favorite game of the year, but I'm going to go in a different direction.
Yeah, I tossed it around too as my debated whether it was going to be my favorite as well. It is a fantastic experience, and a lot of the hype that you've heard around it. If you are into gaming and listen to podcasts and that kind of thing, that's there's a reason why it's very well deserved. There's something about like John said, the sci-fi theme, but there is a very real, like there's a lot of reality that's going on there, obviously. So it's a neat game, yeah, for sure. Bad map though. Right, Bowser's bad map.
Bad map.
Yeah. Okay. Am I up now?
You are?
Okay. So my game of the year. I got to thinking about it 5 minutes before we started. No, my game of the year is Thirsty Suitors.
Oh,
I was shocked looking back when I thought about the games that we played. I enjoyed it like a lot of them, but this game, there's something really cool about it. It is doing so much. I love the way that it looks. I love the sound of it. I love the characters. I loved that it's just like, I mean, it's like you can see here in this trailer, like they're just really out there and weird and bright. There's just something about the game's vibe that's really cool. The story is to me like a fantastic piece of it. It's about a culture that I'm not familiar with, and because I'm not that. So it's such a great like look into it, and I don't know, I love this game. I love every component of it. It was really great, and I like the cooking the food. I mean that's totally my thing. I like the combat, the RPG stuff. The skateboarding was that's the only part I didn't really love, but it's just this is a Backtrackers game. Like this is one of the best picks that I think we've had. Yeah, so I appreciate that, Matt. Good job.
I like romance games, and part of the Backtrackers is part of that. I remember we played Boyfriend Dungeon. I can remember it was like year one or year two. Good pick by Awesome Dave, and because I was like, yeah, I don't mind like romance like mechanics in like a main game, but in terms of like an entire game to be like a dating sim, I was like, I don't know. And I was obsessed. I was obsessed with Boyfriend Dungeon. So when I saw the trailer for Thirsty Suitors, I was like, I think this might fit my vibe. So I'm glad that you liked it so much, Josh, because I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I think what you wanted to say was like this game is it's just cool. Like it's just oozing with
Yeah.
style. Like it's like Persona. Like it's just
Yep.
so flashy and just so confident with itself. Like yeah, no, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think my only critique of it was the RPG mechanics, like the combats. I felt it was too easy and it slowed it down. It's almost as if they were going to do RPG mechanics, then it needs to be deeper or just take it out entirely. Just because it's just like it's easier than like baby's first RPG. Like it was just almost like again, it's almost like there's no point into doing it. I'd rather it either be done fully fleshed out, which I know would take more time and resources. That otherwise, I say just take it out. Just let me do some skateboarding. Just let me do some dialogue choices and just yeah. I know Seth showed the trailer and I was laughing just because the characters in this game are just wild. Like they're just so over the top. Like the types of suitors that are going after Jala. Like some of them are just so sleazy. It's hysterical. So I do recommend. Is it still on Game Pass? I don't remember if it is. That's where I played it.
I don't know
It's worth
actually.
checking out regardless. It's not there anymore. Oh, that's too bad.
I,
No,
I
I
said
enjoyed it quite a
I
bit.
don't know, but yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I love this game. That's such a good pick as like yeah, like a backtracker game. Like it yeah, but the one thing I'll say is like yeah, it just looks so good. It was funny. It was so well written. The one thing I'll say, Matt, is like with the RPG pieces, like I actually thought that there were elements of it that were like so hilariously done. To your point, like
yeah,
I don't think they should get rid of it. I think they should like build it out so you actually have to like
right.
level up your character so that it's actually a little bit more challenging. Because yeah, I never struggled.
Deeper.
It was basically just a cakewalk. But like I just remember you can like call in like a supercharged attack where it's your mother coming in with a giant
Oh
slipper
yeah,
Yeah.
and just smacking the
yeah,
opponent. And like
that was
that
amazing.
is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest parts, like moments of like video game, like of 2024 for me. Like it was just such an awesome experience to like see that happen as, anyway, it's just amazing. So I wish they would just build that out more, right? To make it even more rewarding when
Mhm.
your mom comes to your defense with a slipper. So
And surprisingly, it had a pretty deep story, if I recall correctly. Like,
Oh
there's a lot
yeah.
of stuff going on with like familial stuff. Like, yeah, and even like I mentioned like a lot of the suitors are sleazy, but once you get well, no, I think one of them is quite sleazy, but I think the rest of them they all come off quite superficial. But once you actually get to know them, there's like stuff that's happened to them in the past. Like, there's just reasons why they act the way they are, and they're obviously trying to work through their own personal stuff. So yeah, even though like it's a dating sim. It's an RPG. It's a skateboarding game, but it actually had quite a meaningful story that was more surprised that was unexpected for me. So yeah, no, good pick, Josh. It's definitely worthy of being GOTY for Backtrackers for sure.
Hmm.
Good game.
Okay. Yep. All right, John. I
I
guess
guess
you're
I'll
closing us off. Last game.
sure. I think this one's going to be a bit surprising. So I think, we're talking a lot about a lot of indies, but I think, one thing that Josh and I have talked about is it's it's the Backtrackers also, it's not just about indies, it's about games that have been overlooked or that not a lot of people have engaged with. So my actual number one pick is Beyond Good and Evil.
Let's
2003's
go.
Beyond Good and Evil. It was the anniversary edition, but I'll say this and why it kind of has stuck out there as one of my favorite games of the year. Um, it I never played it in 2003 or since 2003, but for whatever reason, it's always kind of been on that like always existent backlog. It's something I followed when I was younger, basically when I was a kid. Have heard about it as I've kind of re-engaged with gaming and as I've gotten older, but just never played it. Never had the chance to, just never played it. So when we kind of brought it forward as a backtracker game, and this is an action adventure game, it's developed by Ubisoft. And so, kind of outside of what we normally play, but I basically got to relive what I had missed, right? What if I had played it when I was, in 2003, when the kind of hype was there, and when everybody was like, and there is a lot of love for this game still to this day, um, but I just felt like I was getting to re-experience something that I had missed, and also getting to share that with really great friends. So that was really unique to me. I think that's kind of like reflective in all of our selections, right? Like, but this was just like it brought me back to a different time. It brought me back to 2003. Um, I think Bauza, you and I, when we were talking about it, like old game old. There's a lot of clunkiness there, like in terms of like it was developed back then. But like I also looked at it like there was things I was engaging with, types of different game mechanics that I realized was probably revolutionary at the time. And I think I don't know, it brought me back to a simpler bygone era. And I just loved getting to engage with this game, not just playing it for the sake of playing it, but playing it as part of Backtrackers was just special to me. So, and now having that kind of connection to the lore, I can join in with all the conspiracies about what the next Beyond Good and Evil sequel is going to be. So, yeah, I loved it. It's something a little bit different, but it was just unique. It was unique for me as an experience in 2024.
It's the epitome of what a GameCube game is, right? It
Yep,
is very
Oh
much
yeah.
that.
100%.
I like this era of gaming. I miss this. The
Me too.
PS2, GameCube. They were not afraid to do weird things. And unfortunately, this one obviously tanked. And it probably didn't do well in the Xbox Live Arcade release, and this time probably didn't do well either. And who knows if we'll see another one. But I love this kind of game. It's just not afraid to be weird. And for Ubisoft to do it, you know, this is not a game that they would ever make now. Like
Yep.
no publishing house, one of the big ones, is going to make a game like this or take a risk on a game like this for any budget. I mean, you see Microsoft letting them do Hi-Fi Rush and then shutting them down. I mean, it's like the closest equivalent I
Oh,
could see to
jeez.
something like
Yeah.
this. You know what I mean? So
You're right.
but yeah, it's
Yeah.
a cool game. Yep.
Yeah. Remember when games didn't cost $500 million to make and people were more
Oh
willing
my
to
God.
make risky things like this,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
why it stood out in my mind as just like one of those throwbacks. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
Okay. Anyone else have anything else to say on any of the games? Good to move on? Okay. I don't know. I think I'll just open the floor in general and say, I wanted to ask the group, do you have any standout moments of the past year? What was, a favorite moment? Do you have just a really memorable thing? Was there anything that you really didn't like? I'm just kind of open floor to anybody who wants to kind of go.
I don't think it's one specific moment, but a repeated moment throughout the year, and that is the topic of maps. Man, a good map can make a game, and a bad map or a missing map can break one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout outs to maps. Yeah.
It
Two
really
games that
does
come to mind.
impact like the flow of the game though. Like when you're like really driving and like
Mhm.
something just like comes to a screeching halt because it's like I don't know how to get where I need to get. Like it is frustrating. Like you're not wrong on that, Bowser. Like and who knew? It's just a map. It's a big deal. It's like well actually if I can't figure out how to get where I need to go, I'm gonna get mad. And it pulls you out of the experience, right? Especially if like, it's a story driven game. So maps are a big
It
deal.
is,
They are.
it is funny how big of a deal they are. I think of two pretty good games off the top of my head that I think they're great games, but they have terrible maps. Carrion is one. I think it just re-upped on Game Pass recently.
Yep.
It's a great game. Terrible map. The other one is what is it? Jedi Fallen Order. I like that game a lot.
Oh
Oh
My
yeah.
God,
God.
does it
Oh yeah.
a god
No,
awful
that
map,
map.
man.
Oh
It's
Yeah.
bad.
no.
Otherwise, great game. So yeah, I
I
don't know.
like
It's a
that
good talk.
map. I'm okay with that map.
Yeah, you're a
No,
Star
that
Wars
map is
fan.
It's part of the
trash.
puzzle. It's
No.
part of
I
it.
mean, yeah, I'm with you. I can overlook a lot of things for Star Wars. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
It's okay that
I
you're
can.
standing a bit there. Yeah.
I mean, again, for me, like the big like moment for me was just coming back to this group and having to miss so much of this past year and getting to finally move into this new place and be in a situation now where I can commit to coming back and hanging out with you all again. It really does fill my cup, man. Like chatting with y'all about these games and getting to make dedicated time with people that I love to go there and like play things that I would have never played before and chat about games the way that I want to talk about games. Because like Bowza, Matt, I mean, and even Jan now, like we're podcasters, and even though you have like your own platform or a podcast or whatever to talk about games, you don't always get to really chew the fat and like get into the weeds and talk about the way a game makes you feel, the way that the Backtrackers kind of allows you to. And Josh, you always do such a good job of like hosting it, keeping the things moving along, keeping the, like curating the questions that kind of get people thinking and get people talking. And you're also great at like kind of working with people in the community to make this thing what it is. And it's like, yeah, I think it is so special. And it's just, it represents this precious little thing, not only in the carpool gaming community, but like in my life. And my favorite moment, I mean, I know it's like a weird selfish thing, but my favorite moment was just being able to do it again.
That's
We're
cool.
very
Yeah,
grateful
one
to
of
have
my-
you back.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was
100%.
like, I have two moments, but one of them is connected to that, Seth, and is when I actually got to see you in person at Extra Life, and we're just kind of sitting across from each other at the table, and I think we were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about. Maybe it was 1,000 times resist,
Maybe.
and you're just like, yeah, I'm coming back, and I was like, and that was like a moment for me. I'm like, that's awesome, like you know what I mean? Just to like have someone like committed and coming back was just such a good feeling, and to Bowser's point, it's just awesome to have you here. The other moment, I don't know, Josh, you got to correct me if I'm wrong, is like, did we do Sidetrackers in 2023, or is that something that you started
Yeah,
in
we did it both years, but yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of times the side trackers are also special because you're kind of going in there. And for those that don't know, side trackers is where we try and meet up without any game on the agenda. Like we obviously playing whatever the Backtrackers game is, but we don't talk about it. We talk about everything else but that. So that can be video games, life, whatever.
Everything
But it's a
else.
space,
Yep.
everything else, cereal,
Mhm. And
cereal
cereal.
time. But so everything, like, and I think like just carving out that space to like continue to foster those relationships, because honestly, let's be honest, like it's the friendships and the stuff that goes with it that really makes it truly like something special. And so like actually trying to find out if there's ways of doing, other things as well beyond the Backtrackers discussion. So I think for me, maybe the first Sidetrackers I joined was in 2024, so that was a highlight.
It's hard to pick like one single thing, right? It's one of those when you look over the course of the year, and I'm gonna cop on and do the same thing. It's it's the entirety of the year, and the fact that you guys keep showing up. It's the fact that we have new people come in with a completely different perspective on things, and I don't know if they like it or not, but sometimes it seems like they do, and you see them sticking around in the chat, and I just think it's a really cool thing. It is such an odd thing. I'm in Germany, and I know Matt and John are in Canada, and we have Seth and Bow's in the States, and it's like this global thing, and it started kind of during the pandemic, and it's just a really cool way to connect to people of like similar interests, but completely different backgrounds, and to actually call you friends. It's just cool. Like it's like one of the most welcoming groups of people that you'll ever be a part of. So if people that may listen, all 7 of you in the future, I would highly recommend that you jump in and just give it a shot, because you're going to be welcomed. You're going to play some weird games, but I think my life is enriched by it. Like there are times I can admit where I'm like, crap, I got to put together the slides, I got to do the questions, I got to, there's some work around it, I guess running it or whatever. But and then when it comes time for us to actually meet up, it's like, oh, that's this is like completely worth everything. I could slave 100 hours and to be worth it. So I just really appreciate it.
I don't think anybody should be surprised, but when it comes to my favorite moment from 2024, it's the one full experience. It's the entire 2024 Backtrackers. I say it, as much as I can on the PlayStation Drive. It's a video game club, but obviously, like I mentioned earlier, like I think one of my favorite things about the Backtrackers is it's pushing me, encouraging me to try new genres, getting to really, expand my palette. And, you know, listen, I don't want to get people too excited. Okay, but if you listen to PlayStation Drive, I'm playing Stellar Blade on normal mode, and I like it. I actually like the difficulty. And part of that is from playing, some of the games. Bowser, what was the game that you picked this year?
Ida?
Crypt Custodian.
Oh,
Crypt
Crypt
Custodian.
Custodian. Okay.
Mm.
I liked it. I liked the combat. And again, like if it wasn't for Bowser picking that, I would not pick that game because I would look at the trailer, I'd be like, nope, pass. It's hard. I liked it. I actually enjoyed the boss fight. So, again, that's one of my favorite things about the Backtrackers is just trying new games. But there's something really special about playing the same game together with a bunch of friends at the same time. Like I think everybody's just always, and understandably, like people are playing different games at different times and stuff like that. It's just such a special thing when people that you're so close to, you're all playing it, and then you get to talk about it. Like it's such a cathartic experience to just let it out and have friends to listen. And again, another beautiful thing about 2024 and just Backtrackers as a whole is just different perspectives. Like even if it's a game that I loved, or even if it's a game that like I despised, I love hearing other people's thoughts about it because again, it just expands my perspective on things. Like like there's a few Backtracker games I did enjoy, but when I hear people explain why I connected with them so much, I was like, oh, it's more for me. It's like it sucks that I missed out on what you experienced, but that's part of it. So, like what Josh said, like anybody's listening, highly recommend just giving it a try. Just because number one, you'll be welcomed by some of the best people you meet in the carpool gaming community. And number two, it's a very special thing. Like it's happening in carpool gaming where people are playing. I think people were playing Fortnite together last night. Like people are just doing sweet hangs together, just playing the same video games. So I highly recommend it, and that's one of my favorite things about 2024 for Backtrackers. And that's something that I experienced my first year with Backtrackers is just getting to talk about some of the more emotional games like Night in the Woods. And for me, for this year, it was 1,000 Times Resist. Like, yes, it would have been uh, still my game of the year for sure, but because I had the Backtrackers, like Josh said, like it enriches the experience. Like having that game is special, but the game is more special because I played it with them. I got to hear, the impact that it had on them and their thoughts, and just, them listening to me like sob over this game. It made the game more special in that sense. So I know you might be disappointed, but you shouldn't be surprised. It's the one full experience. Everything about the Backtrackers,
Hmm.
especially this year, was my favorite. I'm not sorry. I'm not.
Runner up is
Expect
Seth
nothing
coming
less.
back, right? Forever with the runner up is Seth coming
Yeah.
back.
It's part of it. It's part of it. It's part of the one full experience. It's all everything that happened. All of it's just one.
Uh,
Number one.
Alrighty. Everyone got to go, right? I didn't miss anything. Okay. All right, so I guess now we'll just again open it up. What is I guess what are you looking forward to for the rest of 2025? We, unlike other award shows, I guess, we waited until the end of January. So we've already done two, I think two games so far, and we're doing our
Yep.
third one coming up in a couple weeks on the 8th, maybe the 9th, I guess now, maybe Sunday the 9th. Is that okay? Yeah. So and that's going to be Caravan Sandwich. So I'll just start to say, like, we've already played two pretty cool games, and I am looking forward to playing more cool games. I love coming into each session and whatever the wheel picks, like for me, it's always like anxiety because I have like 15 different games I want to pick. I'm like, I don't know which one's the best for the group. I'm like this analysis paralysis, but I love coming in and when the wheel selects someone else is what I like because I have almost no idea most of the time what anyone is like, what's on their radar. And sometimes like you guys are on it by me and say, what do you think of this one for the group? And because I play a lot of different stuff, but I love that. I love that. And I'm excited to see more of that. I'm excited to see new faces from time to time. I'm excited to just hang out with you guys every couple weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever. I love it. So it's just looking forward to more.
That's what I want, man. I want even more new people to come in because for two reasons. I love hearing from new people and just the way they talk about games, the way that they think about games, the stuff they like, the stuff they don't like. I love the new perspectives. But I love it when like a new person comes in and they get involved and then like they wind up picking something, like hearing from somebody that doesn't, that isn't, already ingratiated into this thing, kind of getting in there and like getting to kind of share something that they love or a game that they want to play or a game that they want to talk about. To me, that's like, I mean, getting to share the art that's meaningful to you for one reason or another is like just such an important part of the human experience in general, and getting to do it with this group is so special. And like I think that, I bring it up as often as I can because I want more people to feel comfortable to get invested. I know it can be scary for people like, well, wait, like I got to get into like a group call and talk to a bunch of people that potentially I don't know or whatever, but it's, like it's so gratifying. There's a million reasons to not do something, but like just kind of taking the leap and like putting yourself out there and coming and hanging out and even just sitting in for a session, even just hanging out, even if you didn't play the game, if you just want to hang out, if you just want to listen. We have people that come in and literally just listen. You're welcome to do that. You will never meet a more, welcoming group of people. I invite people to come on in. The water's warm, and I hope that we get to see a lot more new faces this year.
Maybe I'll pick up on that because that was kind of mine as well. But mine is probably what I'll just say is that for me, this is going to sound weird, but the Backtrackers feels like a bit of a pinnacle for my own like personal gaming journey. Like I've not played games consistently throughout my life. Like there's like a gap in my knowledge history. So I am constantly learning from the four other people here and everybody else that joins and on those calls. Like I feel like a novice when it comes to like my own exposure to the different genres, to the different types of games. So I'm always constantly learning. And like I think we've said it multiple times, Backtrackers allows me to jump into different genres that I've never experienced before. And that really pushes my understanding of like what gaming or these games or this art form can really make possible. Like I think Matt said, like it's the ultimate art form in his opinion. I think Seth, you have that perspective as well. And it really serves as a space to discuss those things. Like it's I don't know. It's a special experience. I'll just say like maybe like I feel like I'm still relatively new to the group, and I'll just you know to emphasize the points that you just raised, like I remember prior to joining the Backtrackers, the first session that I jumped into, I must have watched like 4 or 5 sessions go by, just following like, okay, I'm gonna do it this time around. I'm gonna jump in even for a bit. I was playing the games on the side, even just like set myself up, and it was like always like life was kind of, getting in the way as it does. And I was like, finally, after months, I was finally able to. I think Matt, you were encouraging me. Like, I finally was able to like attend, and I think I said it then. It was like it took one session for me to be like, well, this is now a priority to understand how special it
Right.
is. Um, Everything you guys have said was true. Like, it's just such a warm and like you felt comfortable right away. Didn't matter like level of gaming knowledge. It was more about like how I felt about what I was engaging with, and so from that point forward, it was no longer like the inverse. It was the inverse. It was like now, like okay, no, Backtrackers is locked in on that Saturday morning, and life is going to work around it because it became so special to me. And it wasn't just that, but it was obviously the friendships that we've made. I think I was telling Sean that um, on the drive to Extra Life, like, it was really the friendship that I made with Bowser that like gave me the courage to be like, well, I'm going to drive for 4.5 hours or 6 in Matt's case to get to Rome, New York, right? Because I felt like I had that connection, I had that friendship, it made it more approachable and made it more comfortable. So you can just see like the ripple effects that something like this community can have. And so I echo Seth's sentiments. If you're even thinking about it, just come on out, like sit in on a session, um, just to hear what it's all about. And I'm pretty confident you will love it. So yeah. But thank you all for helping to push my own kind of knowledge and fun and experience with gaming forward.
And
The same way, Jan. Just it's a special group of people, and yeah, the thing that I'm looking forward to the most in 2025 is that we continue to that for me personally at least that I get to try different types of games, different types of genres, and thankfully, everybody that's part of the Backtrackers, everybody that's here today and everybody that's hopped in, like everyone has different tastes, and I just want more people to hop in because the only way for at least me personally to you know e- experiment and try new different games is when people come in and they just bring in a game and not necessarily with the sentiment of like I hope everyone likes this, like no, just pick a game that you're excited about and hopefully some of us like it. And honestly, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal if people don't like it. It still leads to quite like a meaningful and very engaging conversation. So I'm hoping in 2025 that I get to, yes, it's fun for me to pick games and, hopefully share the experience with others. But I look forward to more. I kind of like what Josh said. Just I actually like playing other people's games much more than playing my own, to be quite honest. And I'm hoping that more people come in from the community and I get to try their types of games that just, broaden my horizons. Like I said, I'm learning more about myself every single year that I've been part of the Backtrackers.
yep. I'll take it in a little bit of a different direction. I agree with everything that's been said so far, but this year I'm looking forward to what I now call the year of the sequel. This
Let's
week,
go.
within the
Oh,
next week,
yeah.
we have sequels to 2 Backtracker games releasing, and that's Tales of Iron 2 and Citizen Sleeper 2.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We might have to break some Backtracker rules and get those up sooner rather than later.
Oh, I
'cause-
can't wait.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with
I'm
that
stoked for
one.
both of them. Yep.
Yep. So we don't even have to
And
spin
that's
wheels. These are the next ones.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there
great
you go.
decision. That's
Mm.
actually a really good point, Bowser. You guys have been doing this for so long. We're now on to the sequel. I think Tales of Iron might have been one of my first games that I played with the Backtrackers. Yeah, and like I don't think I would have been hyped for these two releases if it wasn't for the fact
No,
that we played them the first
Right.
time.
exactly.
Oh, I love it, man. Can't wait.
We do have one outstanding rule. It's if the game has Doug, whatever his name is
Doug
the voice
Cockle.
actor.
Doug Cockle. Yeah.
Then you got the game must be played. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyone else have anything before we kind of close out here?
It
Okay.
was another great year.
2024 was awesome. I think 2025 will be better. So I have faith. Just I guess I'll close it by saying, one more pitch for the group. It's welcoming. You should join Carpool Gaming Discord channel. You'll find it there. The next game we're playing is Caravan Sandwich. It is on PlayStation, PC, Nintendo. Runs about
I
20
think
to
it's it.
25 bucks. I think it's like $20 on the lunar sale on Steam right now. So pick it up, give it a shot. Come join us on the 9th, Sunday the 9th of February. Wow, February already at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And just one last thing. Yeah, I know like there's a lot of things going on right now in the world, and I think that we can all use some cozy and some feel good and positivity in our lives, regardless of what's going on. So, it's hard to beat this, when it comes to those things. So,
Well said.
yep. Okay. I guess I don't see you all later. See you all in the night.
Yeah.
Hope to see you in the Discord.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
See you there, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.